Upper Deck was once again at Gen Con this year with a whole slew of new entries in the Legendary series. We've got Legendary Encounters Firefly, Legendary Marvel Civil War, and Legendary Big Trouble in Little China, which you can see behind us here. Of course, Marvel Civil War, Marvel, you know that exists. Mm-hmm. Firefly, new in the Encounters, Big Trouble in Little China, totally different avenue for them. So what should we start talking about first?
Well, let's actually start with Firefly, because this one we actually played there. Now, I think we should look at what the difference is between the Alien encounters versus the Firefly encounters. Mm-hmm. While both of them fall in the Encounter series, which is definitely more thematic and really almost plays off, in the Alien movies, the episodes.
Right.
What happens in here is there's definitely more of what people love about Firefly, the characters. Everyone gets a character that's like, Mal, I'm trying to remember
Zoe, one of the main crew members from the show.
And each of them actually have a talent. You all get an extra card in your starting deck, which also Legendary Big Trouble changes the starting deck. So it seems that they're trying to make it so it's not just, okay, give me your money and your attack.
Mm-hmm. A little more personalized.
Right. But anyways, you get a card which you can either play to just draw a card, so it's like not really there, or you can pretty much destroy it to use it to get your special trait. And these traits are usually connected to the characters. Like Mal helped other people draw. I believe Zoe helped take out like a hard defeat villain and stuff.
Yes.
The mechanic repaired the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely very flavorful.
Yes, a lot of that more personal. Feels more like you are actually playing as the characters from the show. Also, there's a bunch of cards that will specifically say, for instance, if Jane defeats this villain, that something happens, or if Jane is a main character right now, they get this item. So it feels like it matters more.
Right, like if you recall the first episode, so we're not going too far into spoiling it, there comes a point when they try to make a deal, and someone tried to set up snipers.
Right.
But Jane, I just brain dead. Thank you. But they take the certain character takes one of the snipers out, and he's actually using it. So when the sniper appears in the legendary set, if that character is the one to take him out, there's a bonus. So like almost stick to the story.
Yes. And like we said, it actually has all 14 episodes of the show as separate scenarios. And what I think is the coolest thing about this, which Alien and Predator I think also had similar, there is a campaign mode where you actually get to play through every single episode in a row. You actually play 3 at a time is considered one game. So it would be 5 games to do a full campaign. And between each mission, you get to do ship upgrades to the Serenity. So it is kind of a campaign legacy, not legacy, but
it's actually a good thing to bring up because that's another major difference.
Uh-huh.
Serenity is a part of this.
Right, you actually have a ship.
Certain things might damage the ship, and if the ship gets too damaged, it blows up, and guess what? You don't live!
Right. So that is awesome. I mean, as a Firefly fan, I thought this was really cool.
The other big thing I love, and this is coming from playing the Firefly game, which I do think is
Gale Force 9
which really was probably almost one of the perfect ways to bring it into the board game world, is unlike Alien, which, if you think of Alien, it makes sense that you just keep fighting a bunch of aliens. Mm-hmm. In this, you're not really throwing thousands of troops in your face. So while you do have like your Alliance flyers, a lot of things are side jobs, in which there'll be things like you need to all donate or destroy or buy 2 heroes in a turn, and if you do, you beat the job. If not, you fail in time. So there's a lot more of that, not just I need to build up to survive against an alien. It's more of that we need to do these odd jobs.
It definitely separates itself from that style of play.
However, I won't lie, I do want to mix them.
I'm afraid to, but it would certainly be interesting.
But from what we played, we definitely feel it captured the spirit of Firefly.
And I'm glad you brought up the Gale Force 9 game because I do feel like it scratches a different itch because you actually do get to play specifically as one of the crew members working together instead of competitively, which I like a lot.
Yeah, and I think they work perfectly together. Like, this is like you want to be on the little Firefly, when the other one is you want to be in the world of Firefly.
The only thing I'll say, I don't know if you'll agree, but I love that the art is all original artwork. It's not just stills from the show. Some of it is a little hit or miss from what I've seen so far. Some of them are great. Once in a while, there's one card that I'm kind of like...
I agree with you. And I understand, though, for coming from their point of view, I mean...
I commend them for making the
because
effort.
9 times out of 10, few things have done it. I think the Gale Force one actually is one that does it pretty well.
Yeah.
When you take stills from the movie or show, it
Feels lazy.
It's lazy and
Yeah.
with a few exceptions. We're actually going to get back to that, actually.
We'll get back to that. Yes, we will. Another Gen Con
Yeah,
videos.
let's hit the other Legendary. Now, we're going to hit Civil War because I don't think there's much more to say. It's the Marvel Universe. This covers the actual Civil War arc, the first one in the comics, not the movie or the second one. So that's why Spider-Man and Iron Spider sort of take front page on this because he was sort of the big deal.
Right. You can go online. You can see a list of all the heroes.
Yeah,
and stuff.
and we actually did because when you read the list to me, I'm like, why is that guy in here? And they're because they played major roles. So props to them, even though, as we'll continue to say, where's our Ant-Man?
Right. There's certain ones that we really want, but there are still some really cool characters, and we did get to see, I think the most interesting, obvious new addition is the divided cards.
Right.
Which look even different from what I really imagined. They're very interesting to see.
They really do. I guess for me,
You're used to Magic. Right?
Well, one set of Magic they use this set, and that's why for me it was like, oh yeah, that literally looks like
Yeah.
Magic like that.
But that is very interesting.
It's definitely interesting to see how it plays. In particular, I think the one, and this actually is my favorite of the splits I've seen. I haven't looked through. You're the one who really looked through. Was a Peter Parker one. But
right.
because Peter Parker in this, and the only reason I like it is because it's the Avengers Spider-Man. So because I do feel because certain heroes are in different groups. They go around.
Right.
But this split card was half was Peter Parker, and the other half was actually Aunt May, who's not an ally, is a spider friend, which makes total sense.
Yeah, so of course you couldn't really have Aunt May fighting Venom or Dr. Octopus or whoever as her own hero, but as a joint effort,
right,
makes perfect sense.
Which I think is a great thing because another thing which I hope happens because bribery did appear back in this, and it's something that you and I definitely said a lot about Legendary. They got to bring their mechanics back. You don't need to make new ones. Some of those mechanics are really good,
and it's a great way to incorporate characters that you aren't superheroes.
Right, and I can't think of one off the top of
like if
Marvel.
it were a DC game, Jimmy Olsen would be a really good.
Right,
one.
exactly. That's what I was gonna actually say because I was gonna be like, I can't think of Marvel, but like to get or Pepper Potts maybe for Iron Man, like just to be like the representation of like they help out occasionally.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of new schemes, all that stuff. We're excited to try that out. We love Marvel Legendary, but the last one. Very weird. This is Legendary Big Trouble in Little China, based off the cult classic, directed by John Carpenter.
Now, this actually had a lot of big surprises in it.
Yes, for starting with just even the box itself, you'll notice this right here. This was a special Gen Con edition, and because of that, we got some of these cool autographed cards the game itself is artwork. These promo cards
are stills from the movie signed by the actual with authenticity certificates.
That's right.
We got a third one for buying a lot there.
So this is just to make you guys jealous that you're not here at Gen Con. But we love that. But yeah, there are basically Legendary, but there I think are two, in my mind, key differences.
Right. But I want to say one more thing on this. What I think is very interesting about this is that we're seeing, first of all, the property out of nowhere, out of the blue. Like you would you think either of us would have called this?
No, it's very weird.
So what's interesting is because I assume they're actually alive to sign this. Like, will we see things like that with Legendary Firefly?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, or if they do other properties, like. I think that's something interesting, curious to see what they do moving forward. And, like, this is when I do think movie stills are all right. It's one card, it's a promo, it gets the idea that it stands out.
I would say this is another maybe hit or miss artwork, but again, overall,
but it's it's because they
effort.
do it for the special. It's not.
No, not these. I meant the rest of the game. The rest of the game. Yeah, but anyway.
Big differences.
First up, we got these mediocre hero cards. Instead of like every deck building game, everybody starts with the same deck. Now everybody gets two randomly of these, and basically they're hero cards, but they come at a cost. So this one is if you have to have a hero in your hand that costs 6 or more to use it.
They're like a basic soldier or agent, but they get a special ability that gives them more power. I will say this: these are actually all characters who are also general heroes. In this.
Right.
And because of that, I really like this idea, and I actually want Marvel versions, like, Spider-Man, drinking a cup of coffee or something, like, or like, Wolverine drinking.
It's late to school
it's like they're like the, when they're not really the superhero.
It's a nice touch that gives you more variety each time you play.
And I mean, some of the artwork on these are hilarious.
Yeah, and then there's the playmat itself, the playing space. It looks exactly the same as Legendary, but part of the board is now designated as Chinatown.
Yes, this would be, I believe, the rooftops and the streets.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And to me, is a really cool thing because a lot of the villains, like I pointed out, one henchman group was if this guy's in Chinatown and when you defeat him, you can't defeat anything else. And to me, this is really cool because what this does is, we're used to this, but if we had other games like some of Marvel Legendaries and started making like for now on, this area is considered like sort of, it's almost like the Secret War. No, it wasn't Secret Wars.
One of the
Captain America scheme where like this is America, this is Europe, but it takes it to the next step because it's not just reduce the size. It was 2 spaces in particular you have to think.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a small thing, but it does add to the theme in an interesting way. And
one more thing. Well, it's not a rules different thing. This is something I know Legendary fans have been clamoring about. So much that they have made their own cards for it. As Jonathan's going to show you some cards right now.
You'll see the pictures.
Yes.
But these are the schemes. For the first time, I think...
to my knowledge.
Even in the encounters?
Well, that's because they have their own weird thing, so I don't count it. They don't have schemes, they have the episodes. So.
They have original artwork. They have individual artwork instead of the generic one for all of them, which is a nice touch to see. And I would love to see them start doing that in the Marvel versions as well.
Right. No, that's why I'm saying I think Legendary Big Trouble in China might not be the first thing you thought about when looking at Legendary, but I gotta say the changes they make to it are it's like, why don't you have it? Civil War, do that.
So I mean, we always love the Legendary stuff. Nothing, that's gonna blow your mind if you've already played these games, or change your mind if you're not a fan of them. But if you are, there's enough wrinkles here that I think these are worthwhile entries in the series.
We will note that because we should mention that Big Trouble in Little China, it comes with a playmat that really is almost the same as the Legendary regular playmat. So if you don't have, I think there was a playmat that went out of print for Legendary. If you don't have one, this comes with it.
Yeah, it's nicer than just the board.
We should note that it leaves 2 spaces where the Maria Hill would go. So if you have the sidekicks or the villain version,
Yes, good value there.
Good value. We got plenty more Gen Con news coming, so you better stay up to date at Roll4Crit at Twitter, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and just subscribing right here.
And, of course, you can find us on our very own website, roll4crit.com/GenCon2016 for all our videos, photos, and more. Stay tuned.